Hey there, Travis Baldry here. After a recent video that I did on editing audiobook audio in Adobe Audition, I kind of came to the realization after talking to a few people that when we as narrators make videos showing ourselves narrating, it's often not actually that realistic, at least not for me. Um, I intentionally gloss over errors that I might have corrected if I'd actually been doing it for real. And there's also an element of doing it for an audience that makes you want to perform it as a single piece, where I might have done retakes for performance reasons if I was just doing it in the booth on my lonesome. And it gives kind of an unrealistic idea of how good we actually are at doing this in real time. And maybe that's not really that fair. So I thought what I would do is a process video for one whole chapter where I mess up just as much as I normally would, warts and all. And maybe you won't be intimidated looking at how terrible I actually am. The book that I'm going to do this excerpt from is called Dog Walker 2 Shadow Pack, and it's the sequel to a book I did a couple of years ago now called Dog Walker, which was an Earphones winner. It's a great book. It's a ton of fun. I've been looking forward to narrating it. And while I've done my prep on this, and I know who the characters are, and I know my pronunciations, I haven't really done a hugely deep read. I honestly don't usually do a super deep read. I want to know the story, I want to know where it's going, I need to know who's who and how things are pronounced, but I don't obsess over every word or where I'm going to inflect or how the mood is going to change from place to place. And I honestly never mark my scripts. I just don't. I have a separate file that just has my pronunciations and character notes and maybe audio clips for voices, and that's it. So let's just do this. Why not? I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Audition now. All right, and here we are, and I've got a fresh project all set up. This will be chapter 1. I've also got a few other audio files over here for when I do my final mastering and setup. Also, interestingly, for this one, there's actually a little bit of post-audio addition that I'm going to do because in the book, it has what more or less is like a movie title. The book cover itself has basically a movie poster on it, and in the previous book we had a little musical cue kind of interspersed with a re-announcement of the title, just in a very kind of cinematic way. So I'm going to do that at the end, and it's a little weird, but whatever, we're going to do it. Oops, I better arm this for record, huh? Haha, mess up number 1. I recently switched this over to a separate ASIO interface that actually records in OBS for doing these videos, so it bumped over my my input selection. I had to reset it. 1. I don't even like that. 1. The old woman took a long drag from her cigarette. She leaned against the window pane and watched the sun set over the funeral home across the street. There was a chill in the air. She held her matted pink bathrobe closed. Above her, Shrek and Donkey grinned, each raising one eyebrow. Together, they held up a big green 2. Every inch of the storefront window was covered in faded posters. Romantic comedies and kids' movies from a decade earlier. Green 2. Every inch of the storefront window was covered in faded posters. Romantic comedies and kids' movies from a decade earlier. The small sign on the glass door read, East Coast. Small sign on the glass door read, East-West Video. Closed. Thank you for 22 years. A brown Cadillac pulled up to the curb, and Detective Sarah Martinez stepped out of the driver's side. She gave the store. Martinez stepped out of the driver's side. She gave the store a once-over, then reached into her sport coat and flashed her badge. "Ma'am?" she said. Nah. Sport coat and flashed her badge. "Ma'am?" she said. "You called about strange noises?" The old woman exhaled a plume of smoke. Detective Jake Boland, Sarah's partner, went directly to the store window without acknowledging her. He peeked in between the posters, stroking his neatly trimmed mustache. Had some little click noises in there. Strange noises? Don't like them. His neatly trimmed mustache. I live upstairs. The woman glared at Jake. I own the building. The other two have been in there for 3 hours. Other two have been in there for 3 hours. Other two. Sarah saw the empty squad car parked across the street. She pulled a walkie-talkie off her belt. Item 4, Code 4. Respond. She pulled a walkie-talkie off her belt. Item 4, Code 4. Respond. I can't be doing this all day, the woman said. I work the night shift tonight. I'm supposed to be asleep right now. Ran out of breath. It's all day, the woman said. I work the night shift tonight. I'm supposed to be asleep right now. Said, I work the night shift tonight. I'm supposed to... I work the night shift tonight. The night shift. Night shift tonight. I'm supposed to be asleep right now. No response on the radio. Sarah shook her head. Jake turned to the woman. They're in the store. Have you checked on them? After what I heard this morning? She tossed the cigarette butt into the gutter and headed toward the stairway to her apartment. I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there. Sarah and Jake exchanged a look. Thin strips of sunlight, then a messy... Thin strips of sunlight bled between the posters, blanketing the video store in an uneven grid of dusty illumination. Along the walls on either side stood white bookcases lined with empty cardboard VHS covers. At the center of the room were 2 smallish metal racks full of DVDs. Metal racks full of DVDs. Darkness loomed. Metal racks full of DVDs. Darkness loomed beyond a wooden counter with a cash register and an old tube monitor. The sun was shining in that direction, but the back of the store was pitch black anyway. Police! Jake didn't get a response. He and Sarah crept deeper into the store, watching that back area. What do you think? Something ain't right. Area. What do you think? Something ain't right. Sarah pulled out a small flashlight and scanned around the ceiling. Posters in the window are from the mid-2000s, right? Flashlight and scanned around the ceiling. Posters in the windows are from the mid-2000s, right? What, Shrek? Jake's arm rubbed up against one of the shelves. He brushed a thick layer of dust off his sleeve. Probably. I guess so. Probably. I guess so. Seems like a lot of spider webs. What spider webs? Sarah looked at him. You don't see them. At him. You don't see them. Welcome to East-West Video. Welcome to East-West Video. The 2 cops jumped, reaching for their guns. A pale woman stepped out from the shadows behind the counter. Long, straight black hair covered most of her face. Sarah aimed the flashlight at her. If you need help, the woman said, let me know. Jesus, lady. Jake relaxed, fixing his shirt. What are you doing in here? You scared the... Sarah grabbed him by the collar and yanked him toward the exit. Once they were safely outside, she leaned against the door, panting. What are you doing? Jake said. Leaned against the door, panting. What are you doing? Jake said. You can't see the webs. What webs? What webs? Sarah put her hand up, calming him. What did you see behind the counter? What did you see behind the counter? Skinny woman, long black hair, seemed to think the store was still open. Did she have a body? Did she have a... Nah, that's not right. Seemed to think the store was still open. Did she have a body? Jake started to open. Did she have a body? Jake started to answer, then stopped. Is this one of those things? Sarah pulled out her phone. Let me call my guy. Sarah pulled out her phone. Let me call my guy. Jake closed his eyes and pressed his forehead on the glass door. Not him. Pressed his forehead on the glass door. Not him. Ben Carter, pet care specialist, struggled to free himself from a tangle of leashes. The 4 gray miniature schnauzers at his feet, Rosie, Josie, Posey, and Rex, were in a state of chaos. Rex, the only boy, did a handstand while peeing on the building next to them. Rosie tugged hard on her leash from the other side of a tree, unable to comprehend why she couldn't move forward. Josie circled Ben, wrapping her leash around his shins. Posey was pooping. As Ben knelt down to pick it up, the dogs all turned and yapped at him. Yep, it's still me, Ben muttered. It's still me, Ben muttered. I've been here. It's still me, Ben muttered. I've been here this whole time. It's still me, Ben muttered. I've been here this whole time. Honestly, I don't like any of those. Dogs all turned and yapped at him. Yep. Dogs all turned and yapped at him. Yep, it's still me, Ben muttered. I've been here this whole time. Dogs all turned and yapped at him. Yep, it's still me, Ben muttered. And a burp. Dogs all turned and yapped at him. Yep, it's still me. I don't have the tongue right for this. Dogs all turned and yapped at him. Yep, it's still me, Ben muttered. Fuck. Dogs all turned and yapped at him. Yep, it's... Dogs all turned and yapped at him. Yep, it's still me, Ben muttered. I've been here this whole time. The mini schnauzers had spent years as yard dogs, and they had just started going into the world. I've been here this whole time. The mini schnauzers had spent years as yard dogs, and they had just started going out in the world a few weeks ago. Their entire existence prior to now consisted of hanging out on the lawn and barking at everything that went past. Their walking skills were negligible. It took Ben 40 minutes to get a few houses down. These were not usually Ben's dogs. Kaylee, another walker, had a job interview, or audition, improv show, something like that. Ben was covering for her. He was actually a little surprised she'd asked. Kaylee didn't like him. She was always pretty mean to him. No. Ben was covering for her. He was actually a little surprised she'd asked. Kaylee didn't like him. She was always pretty mean to him. Ben stood, flipped the poop bag closed, and checked the color-coded leashes in his hand. Rosie, Josie, Posey. There were only 3. He looked up. Rex! Were only 3. He looked up. Rex! Rex cheesed it down the sidewalk, leash dragging along behind him. Ben tried to follow, but the other 3 dogs were all facing different directions, oblivious. Son of a... Ben yanked at their leashes. No response. Rex! Response. Rex! Just as Rex reached the apartment building on the corner, 2 arms scooped him up. Hey, you! Where are you going? Kaylee held the small dog. Hey, you! Where are you going? Kaylee held the small dog. Hey, you! Where are you going? Kaylee held the small dog. Rex's nub of a tail wagged as he licked her face. Did Ben forget how to do his job? Tail wagged as he licked her face. Did Ben forget how to do his job? The other mini schnauzers swarmed Kaylee, silently wagging. Her reflective bracelet flashed as she set Rex down with the others. She always wore reflectors while she was on duty. It was a practical choice. Good for safety, but very dorky. Ben handed her the leashes. I don't know how you do this every day. Footstep. Kids upstairs. Ben handed her the leashes. I don't know how you do this every day. I think I heard another footstep. Ben handed her the leashes. I don't know how you do this every day. He spun the key to the mini schnauzer's house off his key ring. How was your thing? Terrible, she said, giving Ben 0 hints as to what she did. There's another footstep in there. See it? Your thing. Terrible, she said, giving Ben 0 hints as to what she did. Oh, I lost my place. 0 hints as to what she did. She pulled her hand away as he went to give her the key. Let's go on a date tomorrow night. Hand away as he went to give her the key. Let's go on a date tomorrow night. You and me? Ben said. With each other? She laughed. With each other? She laughed. Yeah, playing hard to get clearly doesn't work on you. This is the direct approach. Ben thought a moment, then smiled. Okay, sure. Kaylee plucked the key out of his hand. I'll text you. Text me, he repeated, slightly dazed as Kaylee led the mini schnauzers back toward their house. His phone buzzed in his pocket. The screen showed a Shiba Inu silhouette in a circular yellow spotlight projected onto a dark night sky. Oh, hey, Kaylee said, turning back. Did you give them? Ben was gone. Turning back. Did you give them? Ben was gone. Turning back. Did you give them? Ben was gone. All right, Jake checked his watch. It's been long enough. I'm going back in. He started toward the video store. Sarah tried to stop him. You can't go in there, she said. Sarah tried to stop him. You can't go in there, she said. This is beyond our capabilities. You can't even see the perp. We have a job to do. There are police in there. Brakes squeaked. There are police in there. Brakes squeaked. I don't think I like his either. You can't even see the perp. We have a job to do. There are police in there. Brakes squeaked. A cherry red Hyundai stopped in front of them and threw on the hazard lights. Ben got out of the back seat with what looked like a cricket bat strapped to his back. Sorry I'm late. He ran around to the front passenger door. I had to wait for a lift that would drive a dog. He opened the door, and a chubby Shiba Inu looked up from licking his crotch and regarded the cops with a blank expression. I don't like that. I had to wait for a lift that would drive a dog. He opened the door, and a chubby Shiba Inu looked up from licking his crotch and regarded the cops with a blank expression. Toby, Sarah said. Who's good? Toby, Sarah said. Who's good? The dog gave her a slight wag. For Toby, that was a lot. What's the situation? Ben said. Spiders, Sarah said. Ben made a yuck face. And a floating head. It's definitely yokai because Jake can't see anything. There are 2 unresponsive cops in the back somewhere. 2 unresponsive cops in the back somewhere. You still don't have a car? I've been busy. Ben unzipped the carrying case and drew his weapon, a macahuitl, an ancient Aztec sword. Macahuitl. A macahuitl. Need to say that right. Car? I've been busy. Ben unzipped the carrying case and drew his weapon, a macahuitl, an ancient Aztec sword. Small obsidian blades dotted the edges of the flat wooden club, which had been engraved with holy symbols from a wide variety of religions. A Christian cross, a Star of David, a yin-yang, a Shinto torii gate, a skull with jewel eyes. Toby hopped out of the car. He trotted over to the video store door and peeked in through the video return slot. Jake crossed his arms, glaring at Ben. What does that do? Ben. What does that do? It's the Honest Slayer, Jake. Ben swung it around a little. Demons burn at his touch. Ooh, fumbled that. Jake? Ben swung it around a little. Demons burn at its touch. Aha. The landlady complained about noise. Can you do whatever it is you do quietly? Ben smiled. Quiet as a clam. It is you do quietly. Ben smiled. Quiet as a clam. It is you do quietly. Ben smiled. Quiet as a clam. He knocked over a rack of DVDs immediately upon entering the store. Plastic cases clattered to the floor. Dust clouded the air. The sun had gone down since the cops were in there, and the streetlights outside provided much less light through the cracks between the posters. Ben aimed the Honest Slayer at various points in the room. He saw shelves full of VHS boxes and an empty counter at the back. Hello? And an empty counter at the back. Hello? There was no and an empty counter at the back. Hello? There was no sign of immediate danger. He lowered his weapon. Toby sniffed the dust-filled air and sneezed. The dog's thoughts bounced around in Ben's mind. Bad smell. Bugs stink. Your nose works a lot better than mine, buddy. Ben stepped a little farther into the room, carefully avoiding fallen DVD cases. Use eyes. Toby was looking up. Ben followed his gaze. The surface of the ceiling was covered in a thick mesh of spider webs, which held 3 globular web pods the size of beach balls aloft. Are those egg sacs? The size of beach balls aloft. Are those egg sacs? Ben exhaled through his teeth. I'd better take care of those. He turned to the bookshelf next to him, found a good place to grip, and climbed up a level. The bottom shelf groaned under his weight. Toby's ears twitched as he heard something Ben could not. He sniffed the VHS cover next to him. Ben swung the Honest Slayer upward through one of the pods. It crackled, glowed slightly, and fluttered to the ground like tissue paper as it turned to embers. The pod was empty. We're too late, Ben said. The VHS cover Toby was sniffing shook. He growled. Every cover in the store rattled in place. Ben hopped down from the shelves and clutched the Honest Slayer tightly in front of him. A shadow, a blob of semi-transparent darkness formed around Toby in the shape of a bigger, meaner Toby. The dog lifted off the floor and hovered at the shadow's center. Tentacle-like shapes grew from its surface. The VHS covers stopped moving. Ben held his breath. All at once, the covers tipped over, and thousands, millions of tiny black spiders skittered out. A shimmering wave of arachnids poured onto the dusty carpet and quickly encroached on the boy and his dog. Ben speared the Unislayer through the nearest mass of spiders straight into the bookcase. Flames kissed the spiders in its path. The boxes around it caught on fire. Ben went to pull it back, but the ebony blades were jammed into the wood. Ben put his foot on the shelf for some leverage and tried to yank it loose. A dozen spiders wriggled up his pants leg. He could feel them crawling around in there, biting his shins. Ben screamed, jerked the Unislayer free, and pressed it against his leg. The spiders burned through his pants. The spiders burned through his pants. When he pulled the blade away, there were scorch marks on his jeans. Toby hovered above the floor, encased in his larger shadow form. The tentacles of darkness growing off his back whipped around, swatting clusters of spiders en masse. When a clump of spiders near him got large enough, he turned and gobbled them up like kibble. As he did, Ben's leg immediately felt better. Ben slid the Unislayer on the floor around him, carving a flaming circle of sizzling spiders. He kept hopping from foot to foot, always keeping one off the ground so the spiders inside the circle didn't get him. The next line of arachnids just climbed over the burning ones. This wasn't nearly as effective as Toby's method. Out of breath. Just climbed over the burning ones. This wasn't nearly as effective as Toby's method. "I'm gonna find those cops," Ben said. He headed toward the back of the store. Toby kept doing what he was doing. As Ben approached the counter, a woman's face shot out from the shadows and floated up in his grill. In his grill, it needs to be more slangy feeling. Toby kept doing what he was doing. As Ben approached the counter, a woman's face shot out from the shadows and floated up in his grill. She had long, straight black hair parted in the middle, covering her eyes.
"I'm sorry, sir," she said. "This area is for employees only." "Sorry, sir," she said. "This area is for employees only."
Ben glanced down. Sarah was right. This head had no body. He swiped at the floating head. The woman snarled. Her long black hair hovered upward into two thick tendrils. Thick just felt mucky. The woman snarled. Her long black hair hovered upward into two thick tendrils, exposing two solid black eyes which glared at Ben with lifeless rage. Thought I heard a click. Black eyes which glared at Ben with lifeless rage, exposing two solid black eyes which glared. Footsteps. Are they done? Clunk. With lifeless rage. The hair whipped forward and sliced Ben's unislaying hand off at the wrist. That needs to sound more punchy. With lifeless rage. The hair whipped forward and sliced Ben's unislaying hand off at the wrist. His severed extremity. Slaying hand off at the wrist. His severed extremity, still clutching the weapon, dropped to the floor. Ben screamed, gaping at the bloody stump. Toby's front left paw slipped off his wrist and landed on a pile of DVDs. The dog sighed. Landed on a pile of DVDs. The dog sighed, and then started eating spiders at a furious rate. Ben felt a tingling inside, like the chills he got when he heard a great song, but these chills moved from his stomach to his shoulder, down his arm, and into the bloody stump. There it goes. His arm and into the bloody stump. A dark green gelatinous fluid oozed from his pores and his wound, and, slowly but surely, his hand grew back. Bones, then tendons, veins, meat, and skin. Veins, meat, and skin.
You have the kakawari,
said the floating head. Complicates things, don't it? Ben said, wiggling his fresh fingers. Behind him, Toby sniffed his brand new paw.
Complicate?
said the head.
No, not really.
The woman's face drifted back into the dark, and less than an instant later, the wooden counter smashed to splinters as a
Not really.
Footsteps. You can see him there, right?
No, not really.
There we go again.
No, not really.
The woman's face drifted back into the dark, and less than an instant later, the wooden counter smashed to splinters as a 10-foot spider pounced upon Ben, crunching him into the fallen DVD rack. Its 8 thick, hairy legs stomped around, slipping on DVD cases, avoiding the growing flames. Thump, 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 thump. Going down the stairs. Are they done? Avoiding the growing flames. And now I lost my place. Avoiding the growing flames. Ben held its huge pincers back as they snapped at his throat. He saw his own face reflected in 8 tiny, asymmetrical eyes. A curved stalk grew from the center of the spider's forehead like the glowing bulb on a deep-sea anglerfish. The woman's head bobbed at the end of it.
I'll just have to eat you first,
she said. Better do it quick, Ben said.
First,
she said. Better do it quick,
First,
she said. Better do it quick, Ben. Not the right tone.
First,
she said. Better do it quick, Ben said. Toby hovered over next to Ben.
First,
she said. Better do it quick, Ben said. Toby hovered over next to Ben. The shadow form around him pulsed and solidified into coarse black fur. What stood there now looked like a cross between a wolf and a bear, with glowing red eyes, massive teeth, and a tangle of prehensile fur tentacles whipping around on its back. Toby the dog was gone. Only the Inugami remained. Just felt a little like a lost breath in the end of that. Toby the dog was gone. Only the Inugami remained. The Inugami howled, a piercing shriek that made the windows rattle. Ben covered his ears. The spider staggered back, releasing him. Outside, 3 different car alarms went off. Woman upstairs is not gonna like that, Jake said, without looking up from his phone. Sarah shook her head. She made a beeline for the store. The Inugami leapt upon the giant spider, biting at its neck. The spider managed to catch 2 of its back legs on counter rubble, and it slipped, briefly giving the Inugami the upper hand. Ben stood and dove to the side, avoiding a spider leg and then a fast-moving Inugami tentacle. He picked up the honest slayer and frowned down at his old severed hand, still gripping the handle. And a fast-moving Inugami tentacle. He picked up the honest slayer and frowned down at his old severed hand, still gripping the handle. The Inugami rammed the spider into the shelves nearest to the exit. The wooden case collapsed around them just as Sarah went to open the door. She found it blocked. Ben! She shouted. Ben pried his old hand off the honest slayer and ducked Ben! She shouted. Ben pried his old hand off the honest slayer and ducked another waving tentacle as he headed into the dark. The spider rolled, the Inugami rolled with it, and they slammed into the opposite wall. The pockets of flame around them slowly grew larger. The dog walker treaded carefully past shelves full of videotapes and clear plastic cases. There were empty cases strewn about the floor and tapes cracked open like eggs. Bits of black plastic crunched under Ben's feet. The magnetic tape had been unspooled and removed. There were a lot more spiderwebs back here. The air around Ben felt hotter and more humid. "It's okay," he whispered to himself. Not whispery enough. Felt hotter and more humid. "It's okay," he whispered to himself. "You chose this. This is what you do. You chose this. This is what you do. You chose this. This is what you do." At the end of the tape racks, Ben turned a corner to the right. He gasped. You chose this. This is what you do. At the end of the tape racks, Ben turned a corner to the right. He gasped. Less than a foot from his face, 2 huge cocoons dangled from the ceiling. Viscous fluid oozed out from between the thick tangles of webbing and magnetic tape. Ran out of breath on tape. Cocoons dangled from the ceiling. Viscous fluid oozed out from between the thick tangles of webbing and magnetic tape. One of the cocoons moaned. Ben backed up and squatted down. He tilted his head sideways. Each cocoon had a human head poking out the bottom. These must be the missing cops Sarah had mentioned. Their skin was pale, their lips were blue, but one of them had made a noise which meant he was alive. Ben climbed up the nearest shelf and sawed at the top of one of the cocoons with his unislayer. The giant spider charged at the inugami, hissing, pincers pinching rhythmically. The inugami lunged to the side and clamped its jaws onto one of the spider's legs. The beast twisted its head and wrenched the leg from the spider's abdomen. The woman's head, still bobbing up and down on its stalk, wailed in pain. Ben sliced the root of the second cocoon, and it dropped onto the floor next to the first with a wet thump. Ben knelt down beside it and pressed the unislayer up to the webbing, right beneath the cop's neck. "I hope you're not fatter than you look," he said. "I hope you're not fatter than you look," he said. He sliced down the center. A foul stench filled the room, earthy like rotten cabbage. Ben gagged. As he got close to the end, the cocoon split open, revealing the cop's body. The guy was pretty goopy, but not visibly harmed. He didn't move. Ben grabbed him by the navy blue vest, and it was like sticking his hands in warm Jell-O. I felt like I had a sound in the previous clip here. A stench filled the room, earthy like rotten cabbage. There it is. Cabbage. Sticking his hands in warm Jell-O. "Hey, wake up!" He shook the cop. "You're being rescued! Wake up!" Oh, wait, am I supposed to say wake up? Sticking his hands in warm Jell-O. "Hey, wake up!" He shook the cop. "You're being rescued! Wake..." The cop... "Wake..." This is an interruption. Cop. "You're being rescued! Wake..." Cop. "You're being rescued! Wake..." The cop shot up, gasping. His panicked eyes darted around until they settled on Ben. "You all right?" Ben said. The cop was young, around Ben's age. He felt around, shook off some of the slime. He nodded. "Good," Ben said. "You can help me with the other guy." The second cocoon began convulsing. That still cocooned cop's mouth opened, but no sound came. "Shit," Ben said. "Shit. Shit. 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 Shit," Ben said. but no sound came. "Shit," Ben said. The cocoon burst, splattering Ben and the cop next to him with webs, tape, slime, and blood. A mass of tiny spiders flowed out from where the second cop's body should have been. Next to Ben, the cop's eyes rolled back in his head and he flopped into his cocoon. Ben dove at the spiders, stabbing with his honest slayer and shouting obscenities. The Inugami and the giant spider were still fighting hard as Ben dragged the unconscious cop back into the front of the store. Really blew my breath out, was going to have to gasp. Cop back into the front of the store. The flames from the honest slayer had grown into a full-blown fire. Smoke. Airplane. And while I'm at it, excuse me. Cop back into the front of the store. The flames from the honest slayer had grown into a full-blown fire. Smoke filled the room. Boxes and shelves burned. Everything reeked of melting plastic. "Toby," Ben said. "Time to go!" Don't like that. Everything reeked of melting plastic. "Toby," Ben said. "Time to go!" Weird. You see him right there? "Time to go!" Ben said. "Time to go!" The woman's head swung into view.
You human!
Ben said. "Time to go!" The woman's head swung into view. Ben said. "Time to go!" The woman's head swung into view.
You human! What have you done? Where are you going with my—
Slice. Ben severed the connective stalk.
You human! What have you done? Human! What have you done? What have you done? Where are you going with my—
Slice. Ben severed the connective stalk.
You human! What have you—
What's that lurching human that I don't like? The woman's head swung into view.
You human!
I think I did it again. The woman's head swung into view.
You human!
Still did it. The woman's head swung into view.
You human! What have you done? Where are you going with my—
Slice. Ben severed the connective stalk. Ben severed the connective stalk. The human head tumbled through the air and landed, bounced, rolled over by the remnants of the counter. Ben severed the connective stalk. The human head tumbled through the air and landed, bounced, rolled over by the remnants of the... Ben severed the connective stalk. The human head tumbled through the air. Ben severed the connective stalk. The human head tumbled through the air and landed, bounced, rolled over by the remnants of the counter. The spider slumped onto the Inugami, dead weight. Orange mush seeped from its forehead stalk. Mush seeped from its forehead stalk. The Inugami wriggled out from underneath, bit through the spider's exoskeleton, and started eating its guts. Ben felt the rush of energy he got when the Inugami ate, then shook it off. Gross. He coughed. Shook it off. Gross. He coughed. The smoke was getting thicker. Ben couldn't see the exit. He grabbed the cop under the armpits and tried to drag him further, but couldn't. He fell to the floor, coughing more. I need to make this coffee. Fell to the floor, coughing more. "Toby!" he shouted. "We gotta get out of here!" Laughter emanated from across the room. The woman's head popped. Emanated from across the room. The woman's head propped itself up on spindly spider's legs made from its own hair. It wobbled awkwardly toward the back of the store. The Inugami turned and dove to attack it, missing and catching only rubble. "Help me!" Ben got up. "Toby, I can't move this guy!" "Ben, go!" Toby. Need that to blend together. "I can't move this guy!" "Ben, go!" Toby snarled in Ben's brain. His thoughts always felt angrier when he was in full Inugami mode. I want to make that even nastier then. "I can't move this guy!" "Ben, go!" Toby snarled in Ben's brain. His thoughts always felt angrier when he was in full Inugami mode. "Toby, kill!" I want that to be more forceful. When he was in full Inugami mode. "Toby, kill!" "I'm not leaving without the guy!" He got between the Inugami and the escaping head. The Inugami growled at him. "Ben, go! Toby, kill!" "No!" The Inugami... Ooh, I peeked bad there. See it? "Toby, kill!" "Toby, kill!" "No!" Peeked again. Also in the Toby kill, I felt something. "Go, Toby." That. "Go, Toby, kill." "No!" And an airplane. Just gonna save everything real quick. "Toby, kill." "No!" The Inugami barked in Ben's face. "Toby, kill! Toby, kill!" "No, damn it! Help!" Ben, oh, more peeking. "Toby, kill!" "No, damn it! Help!" Ben coughed. "Help me save the cop!" I want to make the whole thing more cough. "Toby, kill!" "No, damn it! Help!" Ben coughed. "Help me save the cop!" The smoke was completely blinding now. The severed head with the hair legs faded from view. Ben went into a... Was completely blinding now. The severed head with the hair legs faded from view. Ben went into a full-on coughing fit and collapsed. That's kind of the end of a little subchapter break, so I'm going to make that... I want a different... The hair legs faded from view. Ben went into a full-on coughing fit and collapsed. Jake tried to calm the woman who owned the building, who was outside again, shouting in his face. Sarah waved the approaching fire engine toward the store. "You burned down my building," the woman said. Approaching fire engine toward the store. "You burned down my building," the woman said. "I'm going to sue the city. I'll have your jobs for this." "Ma'am," Jake said, hands up. "Ma'am, if you'll just..." No. Ma'am. "Jobs for this." "Ma'am." "I'll have your jobs for this." "Ma'am," Jake said, hands up. "Ma'am, if you'll just..." The storefront shattered. Ben, Toby, and one of the cops rolled out onto the sidewalk amongst the broken glass. Thought I heard a sound in there. "Toby," Jake said, hands up. "If you'll just..." The storefront shattered. Ben, Toby, and one of the cops rolled out onto the sidewalk amongst the broken glass. Toby, back to his normal size and shape, shook like a wet dog. Bits of glass tinkled off his fur. Ben shot to his feet, screaming. He wriggled out of his flaming hoodie and tossed it onto the concrete, stomping on it until the flames were out. Jake, Sarah, the landlady, and several firefighters were staring at him. Stomping on it until the flames were out. Jake, Sarah, the landlady, and several firefighters were staring at him. "Hey," he said. Firefighters were staring at him. "Hey," he said. The woman pointed at him. "Who the hell is that?" Now this little bit is going to get recorded and go over that music that I mentioned earlier. "Who the hell is that?" Dog Walker 2, Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. And then we'll tie that up when we do the music. Maybe do a little spacing. All right, that's it. So, look at all those dang punches. This is what? 23 and 40? Chapter 1. Let's go ahead and save it. Now, the first thing, you can get an idea of how many clips we've got here. We've got 182 clips for this chapter. That's a lot of clips. It's a lot of punches, right? And repunches. Anyway, some of it's footsteps, some of it's mess with this thing, a certain amount of retakes, a certain amount of just performance stuff. All right, so I'm going to bounce this down now. Export, multi-track mix down, chapter 1 mix down to my folder. Fantabulous. All right. And then, let's see, our next step here, I can close my session. We're done with it. I'm going to close all these tracks. Now, normally, I would not do this until I was done with the whole book, but we're just going to do one chapter to go through the whole process, because why not? Here's my final audio. I can verify that I have no clipping up here. Great. And looks like we are done. So I'm going to run my mastering stack on it, which is right here. And this is probably going to take 2 minutes, so I'm going to do a little time lapse. And we're back. All the processing is done. Here is my mastered file, which I'm going to save as Mixdown Mastered. All right, we're going to check our amplitude statistics here. Negative 18.9, pretty much perfect. All right, now, what I will then do as part of my completion is you'll see I've got these other waves here. So I've got my intro tone, my chapter tone. Let's see, I don't have one of these open that I want. Let's go into my audio folder, and I have a chapter front tone, which I didn't have opened. There it is, 0.55. And I'm going to copy these, which are all the exact lengths that I want them to be, of my room tone. And I am going to paste them in the appropriate spots. Chapter tone, copy, paste. And then I've got my end tone here. Copy, paste. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. End of my file. I'm going to save this mastered file. Now, normally I would be done, but as I mentioned at the beginning, this one's got this funky little bit at the end where we have this chunk of music that plays with kind of like what you'd consider like the movie title. So what I'm going to do is actually make a new multi-track project. And let's put this in our folder where we want it. Where's Shadow Pack, blah, blah, blah. And actually, we're going to call this one music title. Oh, fine. Good enough. And we don't need all these tracks, but whatever. We're going to go ahead and drag in our primary audio. And then I have this, where have we got this here? Shadow Pack. Title music. I'm going to throw this in. Track 2. Let's zip on over to the end. Get ourselves zoomed in. I want to select that. We're going to mute this real quick so I can figure out the right spot. Jake tried to call Dog Walker. All right, so that's going to need to start.
Who the hell is that?
Get this timed nice.
Who the hell is that?
Dog Walker 2. We're going to be right there.
Is that?
Dog Walker. Now we're going to slice this up. Where is our slice tool? Blah, blah, blah. Lost my slice tool. There you are. Razor. Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written We're going to actually slice between all of these. Get them all spaced out. I actually like to sometimes work backwards in this kind of thing. 19. Copyright. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. Copyright Gorilla. Copyright. Copyright Gorilla. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. We're going to do some volume ducking so that this stuff will actually all be legible, but... Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Alright, let's grab these guys and drag them over. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Ball. I think maybe we'll keep those together. By Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. So maybe we'll move all of these over. Try to decide aesthetically how we want to do this.
That.
I think we can get a little overlap with her.
Who the hell is that?
That's dope. Dog Walk. I want it on the beat. Dog Walker. Almost. Come on. Yeah, don't snap on me there. Here we go. Dog Walk. Dog Walk. Dog Walk. Gotta hear it more. Dog Walk. It's a little late. Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack. Written by Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Shadow Pack. Written by Jack. A little early. Written by. A little early still. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. That's not good when it goes over the... We're gonna have to pull it in closer. Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. Let's listen to it in concert. The woman pointed at him.
Who the hell is that?
Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. I have an idea. I think we're gonna need to tighten this up. That's just too much with the music that's provided.
Who the hell is that?
Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. This is easiest to do in a spectral view. So easy to see the beat. Let's shorten it up, head back to our multi-track, and this is now considerably shorter, as you can see. I think I'm going to try and move it even further over.
Who the hell is that? Who the hell is that?
Dog walker.
Hell is that?
Dog walker. Dog walk.
That.
Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. Let's maybe separate these out a little bit. See what happens. Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Shadow Pack. Written by Jack Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. Narrated by Travis Baldry. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. Narrated by Travis. I think it works better together. Shadow Pack. Shadow Pack. Written by Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. I think that's our thing. So let's listen to it in context.
Who the hell is that?
Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. Needs to happen early right there. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. 2019. All right. So now I want to do a little ducking here. Actually, before we do that, let's make sure we got ourselves. That's not what I wanted at all. Make sure we have our remaxed volume everywhere where we're going to want it. So we can twiddle with this. All right. Drop you down a bit.
What's that?
Dog Walker. Dog Walker 2. Shadow Pack. Written by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. Be a slower increase there, I think. Let it swoop up. Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. Copyright Gorilla House 2019. Better. All right. Let's see this project. Yes. And let's bounce it down. Our session. Take a peek at it. Looks like Copyright Gorilla House 2019. See, we're going over our 3 decibel because it's kind of additive there during the music. So what we're going to do is I've got a, we'll just do a hard limiter that can negative 3 dB with a no gain boost. And it'll do a little bit of a look ahead on that to make sure it's nice and soft. Keep us all by Jack McGuigan. Narrated by Travis Baldry. And make sure we're still in range here on everything. What's our current RMS? Negative 18.9, all still good. Okay, so we're done. That's the first chapter, mastered, ready to be proofed. My editing is totally done, and you've seen exactly how many horrible flubs I make. It's very embarrassing, but I hope it's useful to you. I'm going to include both the raw unmastered audio as an MP3, as well as the mastered audio and the mastered audio with music for your reference if you want, down below in the description for the video. Thanks for watching. Hope this is useful for you. Take care.